On Valentine's Day, my phone buzzed while I was in the middle of a client meeting. I glanced down and saw Emma's name. "Hey babe, so sorry to do this, but the girls are having a total meltdown about their boyfriends. We've decided to do an emergency Valentine's dinner tonight instead. I feel terrible, but they really need me. We'll do something tomorrow. I promise. Love you." I stared at the screen for a long time, the words blurring together. My pen hovered uselessly above my notepad. It wasn't the cancellation that hurt, it was the tone. The casual, breezy dismissal of everything I had planned as if it were nothing. "Mark, you okay?" my colleague asked. I blinked, forced a small nod, and said quietly, "Yeah, just need a minute." I excused myself from the meeting, phone still in hand. As I walked down the corridor back to my office, her message kept replaying in my mind. Emergency Valentine's dinner. I almost laughed at the phrase. I knew her friends well enough to know that the only emergencies they ever had involved a sale at their favorite boutique. I typed a short reply, "Of course." 2 words. Come. Controlled. Exactly what she'd expect from me, the dependable, boring guy. When I sat down at my desk, the dark blue jewelry box caught my eye. It sat there under the soft glow of my desk lamp, elegant and silent. I opened it slowly. The diamond necklace sparkled against the velvet, a perfect symbol of effort and intention that now meant nothing. $5,000 of compressed carbon. A symbol of love, trust, and celebration, now just another piece of data in a failed experiment. I leaned back in my chair, staring at it. "You really did it this time, Jess," I murmured. There was no anger in my voice, just an exhausted sort of realization. I thought about the past few months, the pointed comments she'd make when her friends got gifts more expensive than hers, the subtle digs at my job, the sighs when I'd say I couldn't take a random weekday trip because I had meetings. The pattern had been there all along. I just hadn't wanted to see it. I rubbed my forehead, a bitter smile forming. "It's not even about Valentine's Day," I said quietly to myself. "It's about respect. Or the lack of it." For Emma, Valentine's Day was the Super Bowl of relationships. A performance, a photo opportunity. For me, it was just another Tuesday. But I'd played along because it made her happy. Because I thought I loved her. Now I could see it clearly, she wasn't just thoughtless. She was entitled. And I had been complicit in it, enabling the performance year after year. The analyst in me, trained to recognize trends and cut losses, finally caught up with the man in me. This wasn't just a bad Valentine's Day. It was a bad investment. I closed the box, the snap of it echoing in the quiet room. "Time to move on," I said under my breath. "And maybe, time to make a point." I looked once more at the necklace, feeling the weight of both its cost and its symbolism. Then I stood up, straightened my tie, and walked out of my office, ready to turn disappointment into something else entirely. I was going to make a public spectacle of my newfound freedom. And I was going to use her own weapon, the court of public opinion, to do it. The first part of my plan was simple. I picked up my phone and called the restaurant. The manager sounded cheerful until I said, "Hi, this is Mark Carter. I had a reservation for 2 tonight at 7:30. "Yes, Mr. Carter. Valentine's dinner for 2, correct?" "That's the one," I said evenly. "Please cancel it." There was a brief silence. "Oh, are you sure, sir? There's a cancellation fee this evening." "I'm sure," I replied. "Someone else can take the table. Maybe a couple that still believes in Valentine's Day." Next I called the florist. "Hi, this is Mark. I placed an order for a large flower delivery to an office downtown. I need to change the delivery address." The woman on the line sounded surprised. "Of course, sir. Where would you like them redirected?" "To the front desk of St. Luke's Children's Hospital," I said. "Mark them as from a friend who cares." Her tone softened instantly. "That's really lovely of you." I hung up, stared at the sleek blue jewelry box on my desk, and felt a calm sort of clarity settle over me. The box didn't represent love anymore. It represented perspective. I grabbed my coat, tucked the box under my arm, and left the office early. My destination was the Haven, a women's shelter on the other side of town, a place for women and children escaping abusive situations. I'd read about it before. They ran mostly on donations and goodwill. When I arrived, I was greeted by a receptionist who gave me a polite but cautious smile. I explained that I wanted to make a donation and was soon led to an office where a kind-faced woman in her 60s sat behind a modest desk. She introduced herself as Margaret. "How can we help you today?" she asked kindly. I told her my story plainly. "I had a Valentine's Day gift that's no longer needed by its intended recipient," I said, placing the box on her desk. "I'd like to donate it to the shelter." You can use it however you see fit, auction it, raffle it, or give it to someone starting fresh. Margaret opened the box carefully. Her eyes widened at the sight of the diamond necklace. This is incredibly generous, she said softly, still staring at the shimmering stones. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I said quietly. Then I took a slow breath and made my real move. Margaret, I said, I know this might sound strange, but would you mind if I filmed this? I promise I won't show your face or anyone else's. I just want to say a few words. I think it might do some good. She hesitated. I could see her weighing caution against curiosity. Why would you want to film this? She finally asked. Because, I said, I'd like to turn a moment of personal disappointment into something positive. Maybe it'll remind people that giving feels better than resentment. She nodded after a pause. All right, she said. As long as no residents appear on camera. I set my phone up on a small table, framing the shot so it captured only me, Margaret's hands holding the open jewelry box, and the shelter's logo on the wall behind us. I took one deep breath and hit record. Hi everyone, I began. My name is Mark. Today is Valentine's Day and like a lot of people, I had plans. I bought these flowers and this necklace for someone I care about very much. But life happens and plans change. And I was left with a choice. I could be sad, or I could try to turn this into something good. I gestured toward the necklace. This was supposed to be a symbol of love for one person, but now it's going to be a symbol of hope for many. I'm here at The Haven, a wonderful organization that helps women and children get back on their feet. I'm donating this to them in the hopes that it can help them continue their incredible work. Then I looked straight into the camera. My voice felt steady, even light. So, if your Valentine's Day didn't go as planned today, I just want to say, you're not alone. I stopped recording, exhaled slowly, and turned back to Margaret. She smiled, a quiet, knowing kind of smile. That, she said softly, was one of the kindest things I've seen all week. I thanked her, shook her hand, and walked out into the cool evening air. For the first time in months, I didn't feel small or forgotten. I felt free. And maybe, just maybe, the best way to heal a broken heart is to help someone else mend theirs. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, I said softly into the camera before ending the recording. I stopped the video, thanked Margaret for her time, and she squeezed my hand gently before I left. That was beautiful, she said. Thank you, I replied and walked out feeling lighter than I had in months. The drive home was quiet, the city glowing with soft pink lights and restaurant signs advertising prix dinners for two. It didn't sting anymore. Not the empty passenger seat, not the silence. Just clarity. When I got home, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and opened my laptop. The video only needed a few small edits. I trimmed the edges, added the Haven's website and donation link, and adjusted the lighting just enough to make it clear but not polished, real, sincere. Then, instead of posting it on my personal page, I uploaded it to a popular local news and events page on Facebook. The caption read, "Sometimes love changes shape. This year I decided to pass mine forward. Hashtag Valentine's Day, hashtag pay it forward, hashtag Haven Shelter, hashtag city name." I shared it on Twitter too with the same hashtags. Then I turned off my phone, leaned back in my chair and took a slow sip of whiskey. Now, I murmured to myself, let's see what happens. It didn't take long. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was spilling through the blinds, and my phone was vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. I blinked, still half asleep, and saw the screen flooded with notifications. Hundreds, then thousands. The video had exploded. It had been shared thousands of times overnight. The local news page had pinned it as their top story. My face was suddenly everywhere. On Facebook feeds, Twitter threads, even a few Instagram reposts. The comments were endless. This is what a real man looks like. Someone's ex is crying in a corner right now. What a huge mistake she made. I just donated to the Haven in your name, Mark. Thank you for the inspiration. I scrolled slowly, absorbing it all. The story had everything people craved. A hero, a villain, and a good cause. I was the humble man with a broken heart turned into something noble. The anonymous ex was the careless villain. And the Haven was the shining beneficiary. It was perfect viral catnip. By mid-morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown numbers, local area codes, news stations. Every voicemail was the same tone of cheerful curiosity. Hi Mark, this is Jenna from Channel 7. We'd love to do a quick interview about your Valentine's Day gesture. Our viewers would adore your story. Mark, this is the morning update. Could we feature your video on our Valentine's special? I politely declined every single one of them. I appreciate the offer, I said in each response, but I'm not looking for attention. I just wanted to help. And with every refusal, the story only grew bigger. The humble refusal to fame made me look even more genuine, an unintentional masterstroke in the theater of public opinion. Then, around noon, the first message from Emma appeared. It was a single text. My phone is blowing up. What did you do? I stared at it for a long moment, then locked the screen. An hour later she called. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. The message she left was everything I expected and more, a masterpiece of confusion, anger, and denial. Mark, what the hell is going on? She said, her voice trembling between outrage and disbelief. My mom just called me asking if we broke up. That video is everywhere. You donated my necklace, the one you bought for me. You had no right. Call me back right now. I listened to the message twice. Her tone wasn't heartbreak. It wasn't regret. It was pure entitlement, the outrage of someone who couldn't fathom that the world didn't revolve around her image. Her necklace. The one she had never seen, never touched, never even known existed. I set my phone down, feeling the corners of my mouth lift in something that wasn't quite a smile. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was strategic. I knew her next move wouldn't just be anger. It would be a full-scale public relations war. And I was ready for it. Update 2. The counteroffensive began that afternoon. Emma, unable to reach me directly, decided to fight on the only battlefield she truly understood, social media. It started with a notification I hadn't expected to care about, a tagged post. I didn't open it immediately. But curiosity, that old enemy, won after a few minutes. Her Instagram story was long, the kind of rambling wall of text that tries too hard to sound sincere. A tearful selfie sat at the top, mascara streaked down her cheeks. The caption began, I can't believe I have to do this, but I need to tell my side of the story. It was a work of fiction. She claimed that we'd had a minor disagreement and that, in a fit of toxic, manipulative rage, I had staged the entire donation video just to humiliate her and make her look like a villain. She wrote, he did it to punish me. He knows how much I hate public drama, and he made this video to get sympathy and destroy my reputation. That necklace was mine. He gave it to me weeks ago, then took it back just to make that disgusting video. Her friends, her loyal chorus of defenders, immediately joined the performance. Within minutes, my feed was flooded with their posts, each more dramatic than the last. He's always been a controlling psycho, one wrote. This is what she's been dealing with for years, said another. This isn't charity, it's emotional abuse. Don't fall for his act. She ditched him for one night to support her friends and he does this? The man is a walking red flag. It was coordinated chaos. They were trying to flip the story, to recast me as the villain and her as the wounded victim. It was a decent strategy. But it had one fatal flaw. It was built entirely on lies. And I had the receipts. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't comment or post or defend myself in the comment sections where people were arguing about who to believe. That would have been messy. That would have made me look defensive. Instead, I waited. By evening, a local news blogger reached out. She'd written one of the first glowing articles about my donation video, calling it, a rare moment of sincerity in the age of performative love. Now she wanted my comment on Emma's accusations. Her message was polite but direct. Hey Mark, there's been some chatter about your ex's story. I'd like to give you the opportunity to respond before I update my article. Totally your call. That was my opening. I wrote back a short, factual statement. I am saddened by these false accusations, but I am not surprised. My only intention was to turn a disappointing situation into something positive for a worthy cause. The decision to end my relationship was made after I received a text message from my then-girlfriend on Valentine's Day canceling our plans. As for the necklace, it was never in her possession. It remained with me until I donated it to the Haven. Then I attached 2 files. The first was a screenshot of the time-stamped receipt for the necklace, clearly showing it had been purchased on the morning of Valentine's Day. The second was a screenshot of Emma's text to me, the one where she'd casually written, Hey babe, so sorry to do this, but the girls are having a total meltdown. We've decided to do an emergency Valentine's dinner instead. Both with clear timestamps. Both irrefutable. The blogger replied within minutes. Wow. Thank you for clarifying, Mark. I'll update the story right away. Less than an hour later, her article went live with a new, merciless headline. Valentine's Day Angel's ex accuses him of theft. Receipts tell a different story. The article laid out the timeline side by side, almost surgical in its precision. Necklace purchased, 10 a.m. Emma's cancellation text, 12 p.m. A donation at the Haven, 3 p.m. The facts spoke for themselves. The internet, which had wavered briefly after Emma's dramatic post, pivoted back with brutal efficiency. Her Instagram comments turned into a wildfire of ridicule. "So you're mad because he donated a necklace you didn't even know existed after you ditched him on Valentine's Day?" One user wrote. "The entitlement is staggering," another added. And my personal favorite. "Girl, you didn't just fumble the bag, you threw it into a charitable furnace." By nightfall, her attempt at reputation damage had imploded spectacularly. The same audience she had always courted for validation was now watching her unravel. And I didn't have to say another word. This is a masterclass in how to turn yourself into the most hated person in the city in 24 hours. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Something about Emma's meltdown didn't sit right with me. Her reaction had been too extreme, her lies too frantic, too rehearsed. The emergency Valentine's dinner excuse had never made sense, and now, after the chaos she'd stirred online, I was sure there was more to it. That same day, the day I made the donation, I hired a private investigator. I gave him the names of Emma's friends and told him exactly what I wanted. "Find out where they really were on Valentine's night," I said. He didn't take long. Less than a day later he called. "I've got something," he said. My pulse quickened. "Tell me." He explained that he'd pulled credit card receipts and social media geotags. 2 of Emma's friends had indeed been together at a trendy new restaurant across town. Their posts matched their locations, everything checked out. But Emma wasn't with them. She was at a completely different place, the investigator continued, his tone measured but heavy. A smaller, much more intimate restaurant. High-end. Expensive. And she wasn't alone. A cold silence followed. "With who?" I asked. He paused, then said the name like a nail driven into wood. "A guy named Ben." Ben. Her ex-boyfriend. The one she'd sworn was ancient history. My stomach twisted, not with heartbreak, that had already burned out long ago, but with a deep, icy confirmation of what I'd suspected all along. The investigator sent me the evidence. A single photo taken by one of his associates inside the restaurant. Emma and Ben sat across from each other, leaning in close, hands intertwined across the table, smiling like the world outside didn't exist. I stared at that image for a long time. It was proof, undeniable, time-stamped, final. I didn't share it. Not yet. I held on to that photo like an insurance policy. My ace in the hole. I would wait for the right moment to play it. The last act of this drama was slower, quieter. A steady implosion instead of an explosion. After her public humiliation, Emma deleted her social media. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. The story had already escaped her control. It was everywhere, reposted, retold, dissected by people who didn't even know us. She became a local pariah. Her friends, the same ones who had backed her during her smear campaign, started disappearing one by one. They unfollowed her, deleted old photos, and told anyone who asked that she had lied to them. Some claimed they had no idea she'd been out with her ex that night. I didn't correct them. Then came her job. Emma worked in public relations, a field where your image is your lifeline. Her company tried to weather the storm at first, but the negative attention was relentless. Eventually, they cut her loose quietly, a polite, "we're restructuring" email that everyone knew was a cover. Unemployed. Friendless. Reputation in ruins. And then came the worst part, her parents. They had been her fiercest defenders at first, convinced that I had manipulated their daughter, that she was the victim. But as the truth came out, the shame followed. Her father, a respected local businessman, lost a major client because of the scandal. That, apparently, was the breaking point. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that they gave her an ultimatum: get a job, pay your own bills, and issue a public apology. She refused. Still clinging to the tattered scraps of her victim narrative. So they kicked her out. For the first time in her life, Emma was completely on her own. No money. No job. Nowhere to go. 2 months after that Valentine's Day, there was a knock at my door. It was late, almost midnight. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. The confident, perfectly polished woman I'd once loved was gone. Standing there instead was someone hollow, tired, desperate, and broken. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Mark, please, can we talk?" I didn't answer. I just stepped aside enough for her to continue. She started with the tears. They came easily, practiced like everything else about her had been. "I made a terrible mistake," she said between sobs. "Ben meant nothing. It was stupid, it was one night, I was confused. I love you. I've always loved you." I let her talk. For 5 full minutes I said nothing. When she finally stopped, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I swiped once, then turned the screen toward her. The photo, her and Ben holding hands across that restaurant table, glowed in the dim porch light. Her expression collapsed. Her shoulders sagged, her eyes wide, lips trembling. The last of her lies fell apart in silence. "I know everything, Emma," I said quietly. "I've known since the beginning." She started begging then. A frantic, breathless string of pleas. "Please, Mark, I have nowhere to go. Just for a few days. I'll get back on my feet, I promise. I'll fix everything." I shook my head slowly. "You had a home," I said. "You had a man who loved you and provided for you. And you traded it all for a dinner with your ex." Her eyes filled again, but this time there was no performance left in them, only the hollow understanding that the story was over. "You made your choice," I said, my voice steady. "Now you have to live with it." Then I closed the door. Her reflection lingered in the glass for a moment before disappearing into the night. My revenge had never been about the necklace. It was about value, the value of loyalty, of truth, of self-respect. She had chosen a momentary thrill over a lifetime of trust. I had chosen my dignity over a relationship built on lies. And in the end, we both got exactly what we deserved. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.